Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to a brand new challenge video. My name is Tion, and today we're going to be figuring out whether you could beat Pokemon Emerald with only a Lotad. Taking a look at Lotad's stats, they are absolutely awful, with a total at 220 and its best being special defense at 50. Lotad's special attack is 10 more than its attack. Lotad's special attack definitely isn't great, but it looks like that's all we have to work with. Lotad's learn set is actually pretty awful. Looks like if we want to have any good moves, we're going to have to learn them via TM or HM. Mega Drain is a pretty good move, but we do not learn that until level 43. Luckily enough, Lotad can learn a ton of good moves through HM and TM. Once we have access to Surf and Ice Beam, it looks like our moveset's going to be pretty good. Now that the stats and moves are out of the way, let's talk about the rules of this run. Rule number 1 is no using other Pokemon in battle besides Lotad, obviously. Rule number 2 is no using items in battle, although held items will be allowed. Rule number 3 is no hacking or cheating of any kind. Besides getting Lotad at the beginning, there will be no other hacks used. And with the rules out of the way, guys, let's go ahead and get right into this run. Like always, at the beginning of every Emerald run, Professor Birch is being chased by a level 2 Zigzagoon. I end up replacing Mudkip so we could choose the Waterweed Pokemon Lotad. At this level, Lotad only knows Astonish and Growl, so we're unable to hit this Zigzagoon. Luckily for us, this battle actually isn't mandatory to move on and progress in the game, so eventually Zigzagoon just ends up running anyway, and we win the battle. After that, Professor Birch thanks us for doing absolutely nothing and takes us back to his lab. I end up giving Lotad the name Perry because it reminds me of Perry the platypus. PewDiePie wouldn't understand, but I hope you guys do. Next, we have to beat our rival May. I knew we couldn't beat May at level 5, so I grinded up a couple levels so Astonish would do more damage. Astonish doesn't do that much damage, but it does just enough in order to win this battle. After we defeat May, our main adventure begins. I know since our typing, we're not going to have a trouble with Roxanne, so on our way there, we help Wally like always. At level 7, Perry learns Absorb, and we're able to easily take out the Team Aqua Grunt in Petalburg Forest. Well, kind of easy. We got sand attacked a lot, but we fought our way through that. Without wasting any time, we go ahead and hop right into the Roxanne fight at level 15. Since we have Absorb, I know this gym isn't going to be too hard at all. Absorb in these challenge runs are really good, especially if you're not allowed to use items in battle. We're not allowed to heal ourselves with items in battle, but since we have access to Absorb and Mega Drain, we're definitely going to take advantage of that later on in the run. In just a few turns, both Geodudes go down to Absorb. Last but not least is Nosepass, and Nosepass is not messing around. Its special defense is actually pretty good, as Absorb almost does nothing. Nosepass also has Rock Tomb, which does a decent amount of damage, so I know if we get hit by that a few times, that we're probably done for. After setting up a useless Harden, he ends up going for Tackle as we keep whittling away with Absorb. Since I'm attacking specially, I'm more than happy to see Nosepass go for Harden instead of something like Rock Tomb. Even after Nosepass ate its Ordenberry, we bring it right back down to red HP with a critical hit. Roxanne then uses a potion on Nosepass as we just keep hitting Absorb. This battle could have went a lot worse for me. If Nosepass went for something else besides Harden and Tackle and something like Rock Tomb was used, it would have been a lot tougher to get through. It takes a while, but eventually we are able to KO Nosepass. I'm super glad that Perry could learn something like Absorb only at level 7, or we would be grinding for quite a while. After walking out of Roxanne's gym with our newly acquired stone badge, we witness a robbery. Of course, it's the Team Aqua Grunt that likes to steal stuff, even a bird named Pika. Perry makes pretty short work of the Poochyena that we had to fight. Even when the Poochyena landed a critical hit, it did almost nothing. After running off the Team Aqua Grunt, we return Pico back to Mr. Briny, and he offers to give us a ride to Dewford. That's where we'll find our next gym badge. After accepting Mr. Briny's offer, we arrive in Dewford Town, where we need to deliver a letter to Steven, as well as pick up the second gym badge. I go ahead and deliver the letter to Steven and prepare to fight Brawly. We definitely need a few levels if we're gonna take him on. To get those levels that we need to beat Brawly, we go ahead and go to Slateport City since we already delivered the letter to Steven. We easily take care of these grunts and make Archie pretty angry, but we're here to get levels, Archie. We really don't care about your backstory. I cannot express to you how many times I tried this second gym battle, but this was the lucky attempt out of maybe 100. Funnily enough, Growl was absolutely necessary to win this gym battle. After taking some damage, we're able to take out Machop with a few absorbs, as Meditite always tries to set up its stupid focus punch. It's basically just free healing for us since Brawly keeps healing up Meditite, and I'm definitely not complaining because now we're back at full HP. Once Meditite is down, last but not least is Makuhita, and he definitely caused me so many issues. If Makuhita did not have bulk up, this would be an extremely easy battle, but unfortunately for us, he does use bulk up quite a lot. This battle was almost completely based on what Makuhita used. If Makuhita's attack was at neutral, there was just nothing we could do to withstand more than a couple hits. So I end up using Growl to lower his attack a few stages. I figured out the hard way that Makuhita always ends up going for bulk up. Eventually Makuhita did go for bulk up, and I knew I just had to get his attack down a few more stages. Once his attack is low enough, he'll just be busy using bulk up for a lot of turns, and that gives us an opportunity to use Absorb and get a lot of HP back. Absorb isn't a very strong move, but since it heals us, it's the best we have for right now. This battle did take a ton of attempts, but eventually it did go my way. Absorb was doing a decent amount of damage, I just had to make sure his attack wasn't getting too high. And if that wasn't hard enough, I end up getting Makuhita into the yellow, and of course he has a citrus berry, healing him back almost to full. Normally this would be a problem, but I end up getting a critical hit with Absorb, healing us up a lot and doing a lot of damage to him as well. And because of that critical hit, we are able to finish off Makuhita, and only one more Absorb, finally beating Brawly. Like I said, that took almost 100 attempts, and I was live streaming at the time, so everyone went crazy once I finally beat him. Next up is May, and this battle is another really hard one. May leads off with a level 18 Wingull, and since we have nature power, it's going to be really useful since it transforms into Swift. Wingull ends up connecting with a Supersonic, but we're able to break through and finish it off with another Swift. Next up is a level 18 Slugma, and since we do not have any water moves at this point, we really don't have a good move to take it out besides Swift once again. Perry ends up falling asleep because of yawn, but once he wakes up, he's able to finish off Slugma with another Swift. Last but not least is Grovyle, and this is where luck really became a factor. We end up getting a critical hit on Grovyle, almost able to one-shot it as it hits us with an Absorb, getting a critical hit as well, but we live with 7 HP and finish it off. Now that May's out of the way, next up is Watson. Haha, that rhymed. Before we're able to take on Watson, Wally wants to fight us, and we just end up using Astonish one-hit KOing poor Waltz. Watson was actually kind of an issue, so I end up teaching Lotad Bullet Seed, which I just end up replacing with Swagger. I never knew you could actually learn Swagger from this guy, and I'm really glad that I got a comment telling me I could. On about my 60th attempt, I end up getting to level 43, and Perry wants to learn Mega Drain. It only has 10 PP, but we're definitely going to replace Absorb because Absorb is just awful. Watson was another gym leader that took a lot of attempts. Watson leads off with a level 20 Voltorb who loves to use self-destruct, but luckily that didn't happen this time. Nature power is Swift once again, so we're able to take out Voltorb relatively easy as well as Electrike. Next up is Magneton, who paralyzes us, but we end up using Swagger and Mega Drain, and it actually goes really well. We actually took out Magneton pretty well there, although we are paralyzed. I never made it to Manectric with 87 HP before. Manectric ends up going for Hell, raising his attack, and that's fine because the only physical move he has is Quick Attack. Mega Drain actually ends up doing a lot of damage, healing us as well. I didn't want a second Mega Drain knocking him into potion range, so I end up going for Astonish, but of course I'm paralyzed. I end up getting hit with another Shockwave, doing a little bit of damage as I forgot all about Manetric's Citrus Berry. Manectric uses Howl once again, which is getting pretty scary considering he likes to use Quick Attack. One Howl is fine, but once you start building up 2 or 3, that's when it starts doing a lot of damage. I am trying to use Mega Drain here to get the final blow, but I keep getting paralyzed, and finally I break through and beat Manectric at the very last second. I cannot wait until I learn Surf because I'm tired of not having a good strong water move. I forgot to mention, I also picked up the Miracle Seed in Petalburg Forest earlier, giving our grass type attacks a little bit of a boost. It's time to go to Meteor Falls. I end up stopping by the Pokemart and filling out the questionnaire just for fun, and I end up saying, "Brother, I am limber." I thought this was hilarious, and I hope you guys do too. In Meteor Falls, we do run into the red team and blue team arguing, but the red team ends up running away, and we have to go stop them or something like that. At the top of Mount Chimney, I end up taking on the Magma leader, Maxie. He leads off with a level 24 Mightyena, and we are a level 46 at this point, so the level gap is pretty extreme. We end up getting hit by a sand attack, but our nature power actually ends up being Rock Slide, which is pretty good. Next up is a level 24 Zubat, who ends up going for Wing Attack since we end up missing our Rock Slide, and once our Rock Slide actually connects, it easily goes down in one hit. Last but not least is a level 25 Camerupt. I am at level 46, so I really do have a good level advantage over Camerupt here, as Mega Drain is neutral and ends up doing a lot of damage. Camerupt ends up going for Ember, and it literally does nothing as we go for Rock Slide and miss. Eventually we do get Camerupt to a low enough HP where Maxie starts to use Super Potions, and at this point it's already over. We don't have access to a water move at this point in the game, and we still end up beating Maxie pretty convincingly. Camerupt wasn't able to do anything to us in that battle. Now that Maxie's out of the way, next up is Flannery. Flannery, of course, is the fire type gym leader, and we still do not have access to a water move, so I know this one's going to be kind of annoying to deal with. Flannery's first 2 Pokemon end up going down relatively easy with a combination of Mega Drain and Secret Power. Next up is Camerupt, who goes down to a couple Mega Drains after hitting us with just a Tackle. I end up learning Rain Dance just for Torkoal because every single time it set up a sunny day, its Overheat did so much damage. This battle did take a ton of attempts, but eventually we got super lucky with a combination of Rain Dance and Secret Power, and we're able to finish Torkoal off with a critical Secret Power. Secret Power is actually not that bad of a move, and I've been using it a lot for grinding and battles like like this. Now that we've taken care of Flannery, next up is Norman. Norman, of course, is the normal type gym leader. He leads off with a level 27 Spinda who does have Teeter Dance, and that can be very annoying if we hit ourselves in confusion. Luckily, he ends up going for Facade, and we're able to take him out in a couple Mega Drains. The same thing happens to his level 27 Vigoroth. Next up is a Lanoon at level 29, and he's able to tank Mega Drains just a little bit better than his other two teammates, but eventually he ends up going down, even though Norman tries to keep him alive with Hyper Potions. Last but not least is Slacking at level 31, and I know if this thing hits me, especially after I've used Swagger, I'm definitely going down. It took a few attempts, but eventually we did get the perfect run. With the combination of Swagger actually pulling through with Confusion and him having Truant, we're actually able to get through Slacking without taking any damage whatsoever. If Slacking connected with any move, and I mean any move, we definitely would have went down. But luckily for us, Slacking ends up taking itself out in Confusion, and just like that, we defeat Norman. That battle actually didn't take too many attempts, and I'm glad it went the way it did. Finally, after beating Norman, we have access to a water move, which is HM03 Surf, which is one of the best water moves in the entire game. After defeating all the Team Aqua Grunts in the Weather Institute, next up is May. At this point in the game, we are level 54, so I know any move we use against her level 29 Pokemon are going to do a lot of damage. I end up going for Secret Power on Slugma just for fun, and next up is Grovyle level 31. Grovyle ends up taking a lot of damage from Secret Power as it retaliates with a Leaf Blade, getting a critical hit, but one more turn of Secret Power is enough to take it out. Last but not least is her level 29 Lombre, who ends up going for Fake Out and taking massive damage from Secret Power, also getting paralyzed. After taking a Swift, we finish off Lombre with one more Secret Power. Next up is the Flying Gym, and I know Lotad is going to have some issues with that gym, so we go ahead and pick up the TM for Ice Beam. I end up going into this gym battle at level 56, which is enough to outspeed everything on her team. Swablu, of course, ends up going down to one Ice Beam, and next up is Pelipper at level 30. Since Pelipper is part water, Ice Beam is neutral, but it still ends up doing a good amount of damage. Of course, Pelipper ends up going for Supersonic, confusing us, but we end up breaking out of confusion and not hitting ourselves at all as we're able to finish off Pelipper with one more Ice Beam. Next up was Skarmory, and I really didn't know if Surf would knock it into Hyper Potion range, so I just end up going for Ice Beam, doing just over half as we get hit with an Aerial Ace, doing a ton of damage. One more Ice Beam from us though is able to take out Skarmory. Next out is a level 29 Tropius, who ends up going down to a 4-time super effective Ice Beam. Now that Tropius is down, last but not least is Altaria at level 33. And since we are level 56, we end up outspeeding Altaria, taking it out with one 4-time super effective Ice Beam. And since we have Ice Beam, we ended up winning first try. Next, there's some story stuff to deal with Team Aqua and Magma, but honestly, these battles aren't really worth talking about because they're so easy, so we're just gonna go ahead and move on to Tate and Liza. I use Swagger on Zoc2, and luckily ends up hitting itself, and Claydol ends up going for Earthquake, but since we're spamming Mega Drain, we're gonna be fine HP wise. Next turn, Zoc2 ends up hitting itself once again, bringing it into the yellow as we're only a sliver off of taking out Claydol. This is where a ton of luck is involved. I end up taking out Zoc2 with an Ice Beam here because I knew Claydol was gonna get healed up. Zoc2 ends up hitting us with a Psychic before it goes down, so our AP is not doing the best. I end up going for a Desperate Mega Drain, and it ends up being a crit, which definitely mattered as we heal up almost all of our HP. I know I really can't win this because of Solrock's fire moves, but I end up going for Mega Drain and getting another critical hit, pulling through, taking out Solrock, making it a 1v1 situation with Claydol. I end up going for another Mega Drain, bringing him to around half HP as we finish it off with a Surf. 2 crits in a row. Wow, it would be a shame if somebody forgot to save the game after they beat them, wouldn't it? Next, I have to take on Team Magma with Steven. Now, this is a double battle, and I'm super scared of these Golbats and Crobats. I end up getting taken out. No big deal. So I end up resetting, and oh my. Luckily, the very next turn, I end up getting a freeze on Zoc2 and just end up taking out her entire team as Zoc2 just remains frozen. This was literally my very next attempt, and I was super happy with this result because I know the chances of this actually happening is slim to none. I almost went crazy, I'm not gonna lie. I thought I had to do that stupid battle again, and I thought I had to do a couple more hours of grinding. But no, I eventually get Zoc2 down with Ice Beam. I then end up defeating Team Magma for the very last time with Steven. Steven then gives us HM08 Dive, and you know what Pokemon we have to capture to use this Dive HM. We once again run into the elusive Tentacool, only one in the entire game. We will never see this beast again, so of course we have to use our Master Ball so it doesn't get away. Archie literally fails to do any damage to us next, and it's just hilarious considering how bad he is. Kyogre then uses HM Fly and goes away. I'm not sure the logistics on that, but okay. I then go up to Rayquaza, tell him to wake up, and then he yells at Kyogre and Groudon, and then they go away, and boom, wand time. Juan, of course, is the water type gym leader. Juan leads off with a level 41 Love Disc, and I'm really not worried about it considering we have Mega Drain, but it ends up going for Sweet Kiss, confusing us, which is super annoying. Luckily, I end up connecting with a Mega Drain, one-hit KOing Love Disc. Next up is Whiscash, and I know if we land a 4x super effective Mega Drain, it will KO, but unfortunately, we end up hitting ourselves as Whiscash goes for Amnesia. Now that Whiscash set up Amnesia, Mega Drain is not going to be able to one-hit KO as Whiscash goes for Amnesia once again. I then end up hitting myself in Confusion, unfortunately once again, as I get hit with an Earthquake, doing a lot of damage. Unfortunately for Juan, 2 Amnesias is not enough to save Whiscash. Next up is Celia at level 43, and of course Mega Drain is going to be super effective, so we get most of our HP back, almost one-hit KOing Celia. Luckily, we don't get paralyzed through Body Slam, as we're able to finish off Celia with one more Mega Drain. Next up is Kingdra at level 46, who likes going for Double Team and Ice Beam. Kingdra gets a Double Team setup as we go for Mega Drain, getting some HP back, but that almost did no damage. Kingdra then goes for an Ice Beam, doing a decent chunk of damage as we end up going for Swagger. Even though Kingdra is confused, it manages to get off another Double Team, raising its evasiveness once again as I miss a Mega Drain. I missed yet another Mega Drain, but luckily Kingdra hits itself in Confusion as it ends up going for Ice Beam the very next turn, almost taking us out. I end up going for an Ice Beam of my own, almost KOing Kingdra, but unfortunately Juan heals up Kingdra with a Hyper Potion. Fortunately for us, Kingdra ends up hitting itself in Confusion once again as we finish it off with one more critical Ice Beam. Last but not least is Crawdon at level 43, and I know since Mega Drain almost is able to one-shot it that this battle is basically over. Juan then, just to deny the inevitable, uses a Hyper Potion, healing Crawdon back up to full HP as we hit it with another Mega Drain and one more Surf to finish it off. And with that, Juan is out of the way and we get our 8th and final gym badge. Next up is Victory Road. In Victory Road, of course, we have to fight Wally. Wally leads off with a level 44 Altaria, who goes down to one super effective Ice Beam. With one of the main threats out of the way, next up is a level 44 Rosalia. Luckily, once again, we do outspeed and we're able to take out Rosalia with one super effective Ice Beam. Next up is a level 43 Delcatty, who ends up going down to one Surf. Lotad has been able to one-shot everything so far, so I'm feeling pretty good. Next up is Magneton, but he ends up going down to one Surf as well. And last but not least is Wally's Gardevoir at level 45. Gardevoir actually manages to outspeed Lotad as it gets off a Future Sight as we hit it with a Surf. We then get hit with a Psychic, but one more Surf is enough to take it out. And just like that, Wally is defeated. Now we are only level 66, so I know before we take on the Elite Four, we have to go grinding. It takes a long time, but eventually I do get up 10 levels and get to level 76. Mightyena gets one-shot easily with Surf, and next up is Absol level 49. Lotad is so close to being able to one-shot Absol, but it lives with only a sliver of health as his own Citrus Berry brings him at a full restore range, and we take him out with one more Surf. Next out is a level 47 Shiftry, who actually ends up outspeeding Lotad, but goes for a double team, and luckily enough we're able to connect with an Ice Beam, taking it out in only one hit. And since Lotad is able to one-shot a Shiftry, next out is Cacturne, and it definitely is able to one-shot a Cacturne. Last but not least is a level 48 Crawdon, who almost goes down to one Mega Drain, but barely hangs on. Crawdon then goes for a Swords Dance, and of course Sydney is going to use a full restore on Crawdon, putting it back at full health. That is completely fine with me. As I use Mega Drain again, I actually get back to full HP. And of course Sydney has another full restore, which of course he is going to use on Crawdon. Once Crawdon is back at full HP, I just use Surf just for fun, and it actually ends up doing a lot of damage as we finally finish off Crawdon with a Mega Drain. And with Elite Four member Sydney out of the way, next up is Phoebe. Phoebe does end up beating us a few times, so we have to make our way through Sydney again, and that brings us to level 78. She leads off with a Dusclops at level 48, who takes massive damage from Surf as we're able to finish it off with an Ice Beam. Next out is a Banette, and I end up going for Mega Drain there stupidly, as I just end up finishing it off with a Surf the very next turn. Sableye did a lot of damage with Shadow Ball there, but we're able to take out it and Banette with a Surf. Last but not least is a level 51 Dusclops, and I end up going for Swagger here as Dusclops ends up hitting itself in Confusion, and we're able to finish it off with a couple Surfs. That battle was actually pretty annoying, but I'm glad we got past it. Next up is Glacia, and this ended up getting absolutely destroyed, and I knew at level 78 this wasn't going to be possible, so I just figured I'd level up a few more times and attempt Glacia once again. We try Glacia again at level 84, which is definitely a lot more firepower than we had previously. I end up going for Mega Drain on Celia, doing a good amount of damage as Celia ends up setting up Hail. Glacia then heals up Celia with a full restore as we hit it with a Surf and finish it off with one more Mega Drain. Next up is Glalie at level 50, and I really don't have a good move for Glalie, so we just end up going for Surf here, and luckily it's a critical hit and we're able to take it out in one hit. Next up is another Celio at level 52. I end up going for Mega Drain on Celio, doing a good amount of damage as Celio returns with an Attract. Attract is very annoying because it only gives us a 50% chance to move, as we are immobilized by Love this turn and we get hit with a Blizzard, doing a decent amount of damage. We're actually able to attack next turn and we finish off Celio with another Mega Drain. Next Next out is Glalie at level 52, who almost goes down to one Surf as Glalie ends up going for Hail, setting up the Hail once again, but one more Mega Drain is enough to take it out. Last but not least is her level 53 Walrein. I end up going for Mega Drain here to get as much HP as possible. Walrein then goes for Ice Beam, and it does hurt, but we'll be fine. Walrein unfortunately has a Citrus Berry, so that brings it out of range of getting KO'd by another Mega Drain. We then get hit by another Ice Beam, doing a good amount of damage as Hail does more damage to us as well. Of course, Glacia heals up Walrein with a full restore as I end up going for Mega Drain, getting the critical hit, getting our HP back to full. And with one more Mega Drain, we get another critical hit and finish off Walrein and defeat Glacia. Next up is Drake, the Dragon type specialist, and I'm kind of scared even though we have Ice Beam because you know how these battles could go sometimes. Drake leads off with a level 52 Shogun who always goes for Protect first, but once we connect with an Ice Beam it goes down. The same exact thing happens to Altaria, and next up is Kingdra. Kingdra did make this battle a little bit difficult because I really didn't have a good move to hit it with, and I just figured out that using Swagger and Ice Beam together was a good combination. Next up is Flygon, and of course it goes down to a 4x super effective Ice Beam, and last but not least is Salamence as it hits us with a Rock Slide and we barely survive with 16 HP and take it out with an Ice Beam. After defeating Drake in a pretty close battle, last but not least is Wallace. At this point I'm about 100 attempts in Wallace, and I'm just speed tied with this Tentacruel, and I keep losing the speed tie. Every single time I do, I end up taking massive damage from Sludge Bomb. To just get past Tentacruel, I need to win the speed tie, and Tentacruel needs to hit itself in confusion 3 times. Over the course of 100 attempts, that only happened one time. The Melodic stalled me out with her cover, but eventually somebody in my chat, because I was streaming this by the way, they said, hey, check your bag for rare candies. I honestly didn't remember using any rare candies before the Elite Four, so I scroll down and oh my gosh, we have 3, and that is definitely going to be enough to win the speed tie with Tentacruel, and it's just going to make life so much easier. Now that we have the levels we need, I know we could win this battle. It felt like forever, but eventually we do get the optimal run we needed. Wailord ends up going for Double Edge, doing a huge amount of damage as we just end up healing it right back up with a Mega Drain and eventually take it out. Next up is the dreaded Tentacruel, and we end up hitting it with Swagger, and it actually hits itself in confusion twice in a row as we get a critical surf to take it out. Next up is Milotic, so I just end up going for Swagger here because last time I faced this Milotic, we got stalled out with Recover and we ran out of Mega Drain PP, but we get another critical hit and take it out. Next out is the fully evolved form of Lotad, Ludicolo, and I end up going for Ice Beam here, doing a decent amount of damage as it ends up going for Double Team. I go for another Ice Beam, almost taking it out as it goes for a Giga Drain, getting some of its HP back, and I think it took it out of full restore range, so we're able to take it out with one more Ice Beam. Next out is the level 56 Whiscash, who goes down with one Mega Drain. It's 4x super effective, so I really wasn't worried. And last but not least is his level 56 Gyarados. I knew Gyarados really didn't have any good moves against me, and I knew I really didn't have any good moves against it. So I just end up going for Swagger, try to get some extra damage off, but he ends up going for Earthquake, doing a lot of damage, although it was resisted. Next turn I end up going for Ice Beam, doing almost half damage as he does hit himself in confusion, and we are able to finish it off with one more Ice Beam, becoming the Pokemon League champion with only a Lotad. We end up beating the game with only a Lotad without using Double Team, which is really surprising to me. He's actually not that bad of a Mon at all. Although we already became the Pokemon League champion, there is one more battle that we have to take care of. The last battle is the secret boss, Steven Stone and Meteor Falls. Steven leads off with a Skarmory who gets taken down with 2 Surfs, and next up is Armaldo who gets taken down with a Surf, and Claydol also gets taken out with a Surf. Getting all the way to level 100 was definitely worth it just to get those 3 out of the way that fast. I end up going for Swagger on Metagross, which is an extremely dangerous game because if Metagross attacks anything with +2 attack, it's going down. But luckily it ends up hitting itself 3 times in a row and we take it out. It's really funny because even though Metagross only had a sliver of HP, we take it out with a critical Surf. Next out is a level 76 Aggron, and I know one Surf is going to be enough to take it out as well. And last but not least is Credilli at level 76. I end up going for Ice Beam here, and it does just over half damage as Credilli ends up going for Ingrain. Ingrain restored just a little bit of HP for Credilli, but it was not enough as we're able to take it out with only one more Ice Beam, defeating Steven and becoming the true champion of the game. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button below, and if you disliked this video, make sure to hit dislike and tell me how it can improve down in the comments. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more content like this, guys, and make sure if you want to watch me do these live, go follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/TOU. Alright guys, I had a blast making this video and I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I will see you guys in the next one.